story time with Annie Gina.
The water boiled around our boat, and a shadow loomed beneath us, darker than the deepest ocean. I felt a chill creep up my spine as I realized we were not alone. It all started on a bright summer day. My friends and I were eager to escape the heat, so we decided to go fishing. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the sun shone brightly, casting sparkles on the waves. As we set out, laughter filled the air, and the excitement of adventure made us feel invincible. We had our rods, bait, and a cooler full of snacks ready for a day of fun. We drifted farther from shore, the rhythmic sound of the engine cutting through the water. But soon, the laughter began to fade. The first sign that something was off was the sudden silence. The birds, usually screeching and flapping overhead, vanished. I looked around, trying to shake off the unease creeping into my mind. "Did you hear that?" Mia asked, her voice a mere whisper. I shook my head, though I could feel an odd tension in the air. The water beneath us was no longer calm. It began to ripple in strange patterns, as if something massive was moving below the surface. My stomach twisted with anxiety. "Maybe it's just the tide," Jake said, trying to reassure us. But I could see the worry etched on his face. The waves began to rise and fall in a way that felt unnatural, and I found myself gripping the side of the boat tighter. Then it happened. A massive shape surged up from the depths. My heart dropped as I took in the creature before us. It was enormous, larger than our boat, its scales shimmering with hues of green and blue. Its skin glistened as it moved, and its eyes were dark, endless voids, fixed on us with an eerie intensity. I felt a mixture of fear and awe wash over me, rendering me speechless. "Guys, we need to go," Jake shouted. But before we could react, a huge tentacle crashed down onto our boat. The sound of splintering wood was deafening, sending shards flying. Water rushed in, and panic erupted among us. I could barely process what was happening as we scrambled to grab anything to stay afloat. The monster thrashed around us, its roar echoing in the air. I clung to the side of the boat, struggling to keep my grip while waves crashed over us, the sight of its jagged teeth sharp and terrifying glinting. In the sunlight made, my heart raced faster than ever. "Swim now!" I yelled, fear propelling me forward. Without thinking, I plunged into the icy water. The shock of the cold hit me like a brick wall, but I couldn't focus on that. I kicked hard, desperate to reach the nearby island I spotted in the distance. My friends followed closely behind, adrenaline driving us as we swam for our lives. As we neared the shore, I felt a flicker of hope. We scrambled onto the sand, gasping for breath and shaking with fear. I turned back just in time to see the creature retreat into the depths, its massive form disappearing beneath the waves. But I knew it wasn't gone for good. "Is it over?" Mia asked, her eyes wide with terror. I shook my head, unable to form words. The memory of that creature loomed in my mind, and a deep sense of dread settled over me. We huddled together on the beach, our hearts racing as we watched the water. The sun began to set, casting long shadows on the sand. The vibrant colors of the sunset did nothing to ease my anxiety. Instead, they served as a stark reminder of how fragile our lives felt. "Do you think it will come back?" Jake asked quietly, his voice trembling. The question hung in the air, heavy and unwelcome. I didn't want to think about it, but the fear curled tightly in my stomach. We decided to make a fire, hoping the warmth would soothe us. The flames flickered and danced, casting eerie shadows around us. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of leaves made me jump. Every wave crashing against the shore sounded like a warning. I kept my eyes glued to the water, half expecting the creature to rise again. As the night wore on, we shared stories to distract ourselves. We talked about school, our favorite movies, anything that might take our minds off the terror we had just faced. But I could see the fear reflected in their eyes. No one could fully relax, not while the ocean loomed just beyond our small circle of light. Eventually, exhaustion overtook us. We decided to try to get some sleep, even though the unease lingered. I lay on the sand, staring up at the stars, my mind racing. What had we encountered? What was that creature? I tried to push the thoughts away, but they clung to me like a shadow. When morning finally came, I awoke to the sound of gentle waves lapping against the shore. The sun rose slowly, casting a golden hue across the beach. I turned to look at our boat, now wrecked on the rocks, barely recognizable. It was a stark reminder of our narrow escape, and I felt a pang of loss for the carefree day that had turned into a nightmare. "Let's find a way back," Jake suggested, and we set out to search for help. We walked along the beach, scanning the horizon for any signs of life. The island felt isolated and haunting, the beauty of nature overshadowed by our fear. As the day wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. I glanced out at the ocean, its surface glistening in the sunlight, but beneath it lay an unknown danger. The thought of the monster lurking just below made my skin crawl. Finally, as the sun began to dip again, we spotted a small fishing boat in the distance. We waved frantically, relief washing over us as the boat approached. The fishermen looked confused, but when they heard our story, their faces turned pale. "Sea monsters don't exist," one of them said, shaking his head, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. He took us back to the mainland, but the thrill of adventure had been replaced by a deep-seated fear. I never fished again. Sometimes, when I hear the waves at night, I wonder what lurks below. The fear of that sea monster clings to me like a shadow, a reminder that some things in the ocean are not meant to be seen. Years have passed since that day, and I still find myself staring at the ocean, haunted by the memory of that massive creature. It changed me, leaving a mark I can never wash away. I've learned that the ocean, while beautiful, holds secrets that can be terrifying, and I'll always remember the day I faced a sea monster. A day that still feels like a vivid dream one I wish I could forget.
Thank you for watching. Please click on the subscribe button and the notification button to get notified when we drop new stories. Thank you.